Okay, ARMY. Stop whatever you're doing right now. Pause your other tabs, put down your phone, sit down properly, because what I'm about to tell you in this video is something that 99% of ARMY completely missed when they watched the Hooligan MV for the very first time. And trust me, once you see it, you cannot unsee it. This is one of those videos where you are going to finish watching and immediately go back to the MV just to verify everything yourself. So make sure you watch this all the way through, because we are going deep. We are going very, very deep into one of the most layered, most intentional music videos BTS has ever dropped. And Jungkook, our golden magne, is right at the center of all of it. Let's start from the very beginning, because context matters, and if we want to understand why the hidden details in this MV hit so differently, we need to understand what Hooligan actually is and why this song exists in the first place. Hooligan is track 2 on Arirang, BTS's 6th Korean-language studio album, released on March 20, 2026, their first full group studio album in nearly 6 years. 6 years, ARMY. After all the solo projects, after the military service, after everything, BTS came back with a body of work that immediately shattered records and broke streaming platforms worldwide. Arirang debuted at number 1 on the Billboard 200, earning 641,000 album equivalent units in its first week alone, which is the largest opening week by a group since Billboard started tracking album equivalent units in 2014. The lead single Swim reached number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100, making it BTS's 7th chart-topping song on that chart, officially placing them ahead of the Bee Gees in the record books. This is the magnitude of what we are talking about. This is the context in which the Hooligan MV arrived. And yet, despite all the chart records, despite all the hysteria around Swim, Hooligan is arguably the track that made the most noise among the actual ARMY community. Because while Swim is dreamy and expansive and emotional, Hooligan is something completely different. It is loud, chaotic, deliberately unhinged, and it feels like BTS collectively decided they were done playing it safe. The word hooligan itself, it carries connotations of disorder, rule-breaking, unpredictability. But in BTS's framing, it becomes something celebratory rather than destructive. This is not a group that has lost control. This is a group that is so in control that they can afford to appear like they have lost it. That distinction is everything when you are trying to understand what is happening in this MV. Now, the MV officially dropped on April 8, 2026, at midnight KST, making it the third installment in the Arirang MV series. And from the moment the first frame appeared, ARMY were already screaming. But here is the thing, most people were so overwhelmed by the overall cinematic scale of the video, by the choreography, by the sheer visual impact of seeing all 7 members together again in a music video context, that they completely blew past some of the most intentional, most carefully placed details that the production team embedded throughout the entire thing. And a significant number of those details are specifically connected to Jungkook. So let's break them down, one by one. The very first thing you need to pay attention to, and I mean the very first seconds of this MV, is Jungkook's positioning in the opening frame. When the video begins, the members are arranged in a formation, and if you look carefully at where Jungkook is standing relative to the rest of the group, you will notice something that fans initially dismissed as purely visual staging. But it is not. Jungkook is placed at the edge of the formation, slightly offset from the center, in a position that visually separates him from the symmetrical arrangement of the other members. Now why does that matter? Because throughout the entire Arirang promotional cycle, Jungkook has repeatedly been positioned, both visually and narratively, as the member who exists in a slightly different emotional register from the rest of the group. Not separate, not isolated, but different. And the MV director understood that assignment completely. The second detail, and this is the one that sent ARMY absolutely spiraling when it was first pointed out, is the laugh. A ha 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 ad-lib that runs through Hooligan like a thread. If you have heard the song, you know exactly what moment I am talking about. That rhythmic, almost maniacal laugh that punctuates the track in a way that is simultaneously hilarious and deeply unnerving. Here is what most people do not know. That laugh was written and created by Jungkook himself. RM confirmed this during the exclusive Spotify x BTS Swimside event held at the rooftop at Pier 17 in New York. During the Q&A session with fans, RM revealed that the iconic laugh heard throughout Hooligan was actually Jungkook's idea, Jungkook's creation, and was performed by Jungkook in the recording studio. And here is the part that will make you love him even more. RM also revealed that he genuinely struggled to record it properly. The laugh is delivered in rhythmic triplets, requiring perfect timing with the beat. When Jungkook first attempted it during the actual recording session, the result was, according to RM, far from smooth. The rest of the members apparently ended up laughing so hard at Jungkook's failed attempts that the entire session descended into chaos before he finally got the rhythm right. And the MV, the Hooligan MV that dropped on April 8th, carries that laugh energy into the visual storytelling in a way that is so specific and so deliberate that once you know the backstory, you will watch the whole thing differently. In the MV, there are specific moments where Jungkook's expression shifts into something that can only be described as barely contained chaos. And those moments, those precise micro-expressions align with the laugh transitions in the track. This is not accidental. The director choreographed Jungkook's visual performance around the audio landmark that he himself created. Jungkook is not just performing in this MV. He is the structural anchor of one of its most distinctive sonic elements, and the visuals reflect that in a way that 99% of viewers completely missed on first watch. Let's talk about the third hidden detail, because this one involves the props, and the props in the Hooligan MV are genuinely one of the most discussed and most brilliant elements of the entire Arirang visual universe. If you watched the 2.0 MV that dropped before Hooligan, you already know that BTS has been embedding traditional Korean cultural objects into their visual storytelling with surgical precision throughout this entire comeback. In the 2.0 MV, Jungkook was seen holding a Samtaeju pattern traditional Korean fan in the hallway confrontation scene, the one that homages the iconic corridor sequence from the Korean film Oldboy. Multiple fans initially thought Jungkook was holding a lollipop, which honestly is the funniest misread in recent ARMY history, but the actual object was a traditional trapezoidal Korean fan, a prop loaded with cultural significance. The Samtaeju pattern represents the balance of heaven, earth, and humanity in Korean tradition, and Jungkook was holding it like a weapon in a suit. The contrast alone is extraordinary. But what makes this relevant to the Hooligan MV is that the same thematic language continues. The props are not decorative. They are communicating something about how BTS sees themselves as carriers of Korean identity in global spaces, even when they are being deliberately chaotic and loud and deliberately unhinged. The fourth detail is about Jungkook's vocal placement in the track itself and how the MV visually responds to it. There is a moment in Hooligan, a very specific transition, that has been described by music analysts and fans alike as one of the most satisfying moments on the entire Arirang album. It is the transition from J-Hope's rap verse into Jungkook's vocal delivery. J-Hope's verse builds at a relentless pace, escalating in intensity and complexity, and then Jungkook's voice enters, and the emotional register of the entire track shifts in a way that is almost physically felt. In the MV, this transition is mirrored with a visual cut that changes the color grading and lighting temperature of the scene. Before Jungkook's vocal entry, the palette is colder, more aggressive. The moment his voice comes in, there is a subtle but unmistakable shift toward warmer tones. This is a cinematographic decision that rewards repeated viewing. On first watch, most people experience it as a general visual flow. On second or third watch, when you know to look for it, the intentionality becomes completely undeniable. Now let's get into something that has been circulating in the deeper corners of ARMY Twitter and Weverse since the MV dropped, the theory about Jungkook's eye contact with the camera. Throughout the Hooligan MV, there are moments where members make direct eye contact with the camera lens. This is a fairly standard MV technique. But Jungkook's camera interactions in this specific MV are different in a way that is difficult to articulate until someone points it out to you. Every other member's direct camera moments feel like they are performing for the audience, which is the standard convention. Jungkook's camera moments feel like he is specifically watching the audience, not performing for them. It is a subtle but crucial distinction in terms of the energy being communicated. He is not inviting you to watch him. He is watching you back. And given the song's central theme of a group that is now so established, so powerful, so in control that they can afford to be a little reckless and a little chaotic, Jungkook being the one who watches the audience rather than performing for them is an incredibly sophisticated piece of character direction. Whether it was a directorial decision or something Jungkook himself brought to the performance instinctively, the effect is the same and it is unforgettable once you see it.
The fifth hidden detail is connected to something that most casual viewers would never notice because it requires knowledge of BTS's earlier discography.
In Hooligan, there is a brief moment in the choreography, a specific arm gesture that appears during the chorus that is a deliberate callback to BTS's much earlier performance era.
Fans who have been with BTS since their debut days recognized it immediately.
For everyone else, it looks like just another clean choreography moment in a music video full of clean choreography moments. But for the fans who caught it, it sent them completely over the edge, because it is a direct visual quotation, a nod from 2026 BTS to early-era BTS, embedded in the middle of a song that is explicitly about BTS having arrived at a point in their career where they can afford to be loud and unbothered and unapologetically themselves. It is a reminder that the hooligan energy they are presenting now was always there, even in the very beginning, even when nobody outside of Korea knew their names. Jungkook is particularly central to this callback because the specific gesture originates from a choreography era where his individual contribution to BTS's performance identity was first beginning to clearly emerge, and seeing it reappear in this MV amplified and updated for 2026 is genuinely one of the most emotional hidden details in the entire video for Longtime ARMY.
Let's talk about the sixth detail, which involves the lyrics co-written by Jungkook. Jungkook is listed as one of the co-writers on Hooligan alongside RM, J-Hope, Suga, and several international collaborators. But when you look specifically at the sections of the song that Jungkook had the most creative input on, the laugh ad-lib that we already discussed, plus certain melodic choices in the vocal sections, and you map them onto the MV, you start to see a pattern. The moments in the song that came most directly from Jungkook's creative instincts are the moments in the MV where the visual storytelling is at its most playful and its most disruptive. It is as if the MV director sat down with the production documentation for the track, identified the Jungkook-originated elements, and then designed the visual language around those moments specifically to amplify and reflect what he brought to the song. This level of alignment between audio creative process and visual execution is not something you see in most music videos. It requires a directorial team that understood not just the final product, but the actual creative process behind each moment of the track, who wrote what, why, and what emotional intention was behind each decision. And speaking of creative process, we need to talk about what Jungkook himself said during the Weverse livestream about filming the Hooligan MV. During the April 1st group livestream where all 7 members appeared together, Jungkook described the set as lively. That is his word. Lively. And if you know Jungkook, if you have followed him long enough to understand what that particular adjective means coming from him specifically, you know that when he calls a set lively, what he is communicating is that there was an energy in the room that exceeded normal working conditions. Not chaotic in a bad way. Lively in the sense of genuinely joyful, genuinely loud, genuinely alive. And that energy, that specific quality of liveness, is visible in the Hooligan MV in a way that separates it from almost any other BTS MV in recent memory. There is a real joy underneath the chaos. And Jungkook is the one who named it. The seventh and final detail, and I have saved this one for last because it is the one that, when I first came across it, made me stop the video and sit in silence for about 30 seconds, is about what Jungkook's presence in the Hooligan MV communicates in the context of everything BTS has been through. After years of hiatus, after mandatory military service, after solo projects, after the world waiting and wondering if BTS would truly come back as a complete unit, the Hooligan MV exists as a statement. A loud, chaotic, gloriously unhinged statement. And Jungkook, who enlisted alongside Jungkook and was among the last to be discharged, who carried so much of the emotional weight of the ARMY's longing during those years of absence, his physical presence in this MV, his laugh, his choreography, his eye contact, his voice, all of it is the answer to a question that millions of people spent years asking. Are they really back? Are all 7 of them truly back? And Jungkook, with every single detail we have discussed in this video, the laugh he wrote, the transitions that are built around his voice, the callbacks to where they started, the way he watches the camera like he knows exactly who is on the other side of it, is answering that question with everything he has. Yes. They are back. All 7 of them. And they are not here to play it safe. That is what the Hooligan MV is. That is what Jungkook's role in it means. And that is why, if you go back and watch it again after this video, and I absolutely promise you that you are going to see it completely differently. Every frame is going to hit differently. Every transition, every expression, every prop, every glance at the camera. Because now you know what to look for.
Now you know what is actually being communicated beneath the surface of what looks like controlled chaos. So if this video opened your eyes to details you completely missed, do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe to this channel if you have not already, and drop a comment telling me which detail shocked you the most. Was it the laugh? The choreography callback? The way Jungkook watches the camera? Tell me everything. I read every single comment, and I want to know what hit you hardest. And stay tuned, because we are going to keep going deeper into the Ararang MV series as each new video drops. There is still so much more to uncover. Army, we are just getting started. See you in the next one. Purple Heart.